Welcome, CNG 132-500. It's Tuesday in week 5. Didn't get a chance to make this video yesterday, but let's go back and recap from last week. So in week 4, we had some pretty good revelations. I'm glad you guys started to pick up on this in this content. Let's see, HTTPS, I'm glad it was chosen a few times, and I'm glad that these discussions actually evolved more deeply. We think about these as being more secure, but it turns out there's still flaws in some protocols. You know, they are developed to make things more secure, but they do also bring their own unique issues along with them. So it's good to think that HTTPS is secure, but know that as it progressed, we do find loopholes in the protocols we use or we develop. That's why we keep on coming up with new protocols. And HTML has advanced to HTML5. CSS is now CSS3. So as we progress farther on, security is being looked at, but it only develops after we find holes or shortnesses of the current model. So let's see. This week I believe is network-based attacks or networking attacks, networking and server attacks. This is another good topic, another good chapter to learn about is how we see how interception, poisoning, DDoS, web server attacks, browser hijacking, overflow, advertising are just a few of the attacks that happen with browsers in general, or I shouldn't say browsers, with networking and servers in general. When we go to DNS poisoning, that's an attack that happens to DNS servers where you start to reroute traffic to specific items. Denial of service, another cool one, is basically communication to a server starts, but then that conversation is left with the person making that contact just not answering ever again, and that holds that communication flow open. DDoS is basically somebody opening communication on multiple levels and not communicating to there. They're just tying up the lines. My best example is my wife was going to a Celine Dion concert many years ago. What happened? Ticketmaster ended up crashing because people were not happy with the seats that Ticketmaster was giving them. So instead of going towards the window and actually closing the window, they would just leave the window open up a new window, and go to Ticketmaster. There we go. Ticketmaster. Go to Ticketmaster, open up another browser window, start communications again with their server while that other window is still open, searching for better tickets by just having those windows open all the time. That's my best example of DDoS that I've ever seen happen. I realize that do happen all the time. There are sites you can go to, and this is getting slightly off topic, but as you guys start to learn more about these attacks, and I guess it kind of fits in today, Norris, attack map, is it here? This one will show you live attacks as they happen and also start to classify them as they're going on. And I thought you're supposed to see little the attacks happening as they go. That's weird. Realize that there are a few other out there. Live attack map. FireEye is another one. There's also one from, I believe, Sematech. And as we get to see, they just say new attacks, not necessarily classifying them as DOS or any other things. But start to look at those maps. Now that you're starting to learn how to classify those attacks, and see how they are also engaged. What are they coming from a certain place? Are the attacks, can it be credentialed in saying that the attacks are originating from here, when it could be somebody using that computer as a zombie to launch those attacks? Really cool topics this week. Make sure to get that project in, the essay in. SANS.org is a great site to start to learn as you become a cybersecurity specialist. Realize that there's a few other sites. I'll post those sites in the news topic so you can actually see those. So poke around in those websites and see, get a taste for what's out there. Realize that there's a lot of content out there with cybersecurity, and when you start to go for this degree, you realize that your learning has just barely started into this world, and starts to develop from this world. Let's see, going over last week, we had a test. If you missed that test, do not worry. You can make up your test score by buying a Kaplan voucher here at the Larimer Campus Bookstore. You can do it through the web access. Sandra did notify me that she had a few in stock, and she's starting to restock that stockpile. So she ran out of stock. Don't worry. This can be done throughout the entire semester, but realize we do have 10 weeks left, only about a little bit over 2 months. So start to prepare yourself a plan on how you're going to end the semester. If you need help with that, please reach out to me. Let me know how I can help you develop this plan so you're not only successful, but I can successfully get this information passed on to you to help you succeed in this course. With that, I think that's it for our first kickoff video. I'll start grading here shortly today. Hopefully wind up with everybody's grades today. Oh, speaking of grades, in week 5 at Farm Range Community College, you should get an email stating we're at the halfway point, which we're really not at the halfway point, but it advises you to check your grade. If you have any questions about your grade, feel free to reach out to me. If you ever turn in an assignment that I mark at 0, just reach out and say, hey, look, you messed up here. I do make mistakes. Sometimes I do jump ahead and enter a 0, but as soon as you get that item in with an exam or a quiz, as soon as you take that quiz, whatever your score, if your score is greater than a 0, it'll replace my 0. So with that, have a good week, and I'm excited to jump into network-based attacks.